All right, everybody. You know what time it is. The Real Talk Sports Show is coming up right now. Bam! Welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host, the Minister, Jonathan Simmons. And we thank God for those of you who've decided to join us here on various platforms. First of all, big shout out to those of you who are listening live this morning on the legendary WIGO Pacesetter 1570 AM. Big shout out to those of you who are doing the visual thing, as you always do, watching us on Facebook Live on Real Talk Sports 7, or also on YouTube now, Real Talk Sports number 7. I have changed our branding, and I put it right there on the screen for those of you who are watching now to follow us on any platform. It is Real Talk Sports, the number 7. And remember, when you go to YouTube, please, bam, subscribe. We need subscribers. We're trying to get to that magical number of 1,000 subscribers. We thank God for those of you who joined us here as you do every football season. You guys surge in. Also, big shout out to those of you who are lighting up our Instagram page. We're going to give you more of the post game interviews as we do high school football. And we are going to, and you've seen on our page, dabble a little bit into junior high school and middle school football. So if you have a great story to tell, you have a young person that is doing some great things both on and off the field, hit us up. You can shoot you the email right here. It is jsimmons at realtalksports.net. You also can text me at 678 410 9833, and we'd love to get them on the air. And even if it's you, if you say, look, man, I'm doing some great stuff, Booster Club, I don't care what it is. We're looking for great sports stories around South Metro Atlanta. So please join us. Please. Well, a lot of stuff going on in the world of sports, as you know. We have high school football, we have college football, we have baseball, the Braves, we have the Falcons now over in Europe trying to do what they can do. So a lot is going on, friends and citizens, just saying. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today, and we're going to look for your input as well. And we got some breaking news, guys. We are now going to be doing some giveaways. I know you guys have been listening to me for a while, and you said, man, it's been a minute since you've done some giveaways. Well, we're going to be doing them back. And we got not just any kind of giveaways, guys. We're going to have some free Falcons tickets, some free Hawks tickets that you can win, some other prizes that you can win, gift certificates to various locations around Metro Atlanta for clothing, for car maintenance. We're going to have all that stuff here for you, but you have to keep it locked right here in the Real Talk Sports Show. Remember, follow us on social media as well at Real Talk Sports, the number 7. That's how you follow us anywhere on social media, Real Talk Sports number 7. And keep it locked right here, of course, on the air 1570 on your dial. Well, I guess we should talk first about a little bit about those Bravos. Braves continually to be the talk of the town, baby, as they make their move into October. We're in October. We're going to be in October very shortly. And the Braves are continually to make it do what it do. Now, last night, they did take some lumps from the Washington Nationals, giving up a grand total of 10 runs. And the thing that's kind of, always kind of a little scary is that they gave the runs up late. I can speak English. Nationals hit them up 4 in the fourth, 3 more in the seventh, and 3 more in the sixth, as they posted a 10 spot on the Braves last night, winning 10-6. Nationals, as you know, a couple of years ago themselves won the World Series, and they have had a long time. What do you want to call it? I don't want to say rivalry, but certainly being an NL East team, they have long always kind of had it for the Braves. And last night, they got a little bit of revenge. The Braves have won most of the games they played against them this year, but the Nationals rolled into Atlanta and smacked around the Braves and beat them 10-6. The big man was their third baseman, Carter Kielboom. He had a big day last night. He blasted, I believe, a 3-run homer. If I got my stats right here, let me go ahead and take a peek on the scoreboard stats here as we looking here. Yeah, he had the 3 RBIs last night. Also, Dominic Smith had 2 RBIs last night, and they were the ones that did all the damage primarily for the Washington Nationals. On the home side of the Braves, Ronald Acuna gets another hit and scores another run. He just keeps on keeping on. Kevin Pillar, a guy that we're going to see probably a lot in postseason. He's kind of one of those key bench players that every great team needs in postseason. 2 for 4 last night with an RBI and a run score. The unsung hero, really, of the Atlanta Braves is Ozzie Albies, a guy they don't talk about too much. Albies last night, 3 for 5 and a run batted in. And before I get to some of the other Brave stats, I want you guys to take a look at the stats of Ozzie Albies, and you will see this is a bad man. Like I said, he gets very, very little publicity because of the rest of the big boppers on the team. I'm going to get his stats up here in just a second. Okay, Ozzie Albies, very quietly, very, very quietly, is batting 279, but more importantly, 33 home runs and 108 runs batted in, playing second base. Yeah, he's not third baseman, not a right fielder, none of that kind of stuff. He is just a second baseman, and this guy is putting up monster numbers. And again, here's the good news. The rest of the major leagues appreciates him. He was voted into the All-Star game this year, but yeah, putting up some big numbers. Like I said again, 33 home runs, 108 runs batted in, 164 hits overall, and also has 13 stolen bases. Yeah, so Abdi Albies and has scored 92 runs. So that's the guy who I think this year for the Braves to win the World Series, he might be a key factor in the Braves being able to bring home their second World Series title in the last 4 years. So keep your eye out on that name and that player, Ozzie Albies in second base. Look for him, like I said again, to be a key factor in the postseason for the Braves as they continue on. Another guy that is going to have to come up big is on the pitching side, Cal Wright. We saw him the other night pitch very, very well in their World Series run. He pitched well. He's a young guy, been a little inconsistent this year, battled with some injuries, but it's going to be very, very important for him to have a big postseason. As a matter of fact, that's going to be the key for all the Braves pitching staff. These guys are going to have to find a way to revert to what we saw more in the first half, where Braves pitching was amongst the league leaders as far as RBIs. Oh, Lord have mercy. As far as ERA, I'm sorry. So again, we're going to need the Braves to step up in the pitching staff. We're going to need that desperately if they're going to win another World Series. And look, don't get me wrong. I get it. I know that a lot of people talk about the Braves and having a great season, and because it was so entertaining, it would be a great season anyway, even if they don't win the World Series. That's a lot of baloney. The realities are when you win over 100 games, which the Braves have already done, by the way. Braves are already, I think, at 102 wins. Let's get they're 102 and 57. Okay, and I'm just saying that that is something where you have to win the World Series. I'm just being honest. I mean, because to me, to win, excuse me, 103 games, to win 103 games, or they possibly may win as many as 105 games, to win 105 games and not win the World Series would be, to me, a huge disappointment. It remind me of those Braves teams in the 90s that did that a couple of times. They won over 100 games. And matter of fact, I think in 2005, they didn't even get to the World Series. So I'm just saying they need to win the World Series, and they got their work cut out for them because you look in the National League, you have the Dodgers have a very, very good team as they always have had for the last 5 or 10 years. They lead the NL West, and they are right behind the Braves for best overall record. And what that means, whoever does the best overall record will actually have the home field advantage for the entire playoffs. Right now, the Braves are about, I think, 2.5 games ahead of them right now. And you look over in the American League, don't sleep on the Orioles. They've won 100 games over there. And also, you got to keep your eyeballs peeled on the Astros, even though they are trailing the Rangers. That's a race right there. Rangers and Astros in the AL West. Only one game separates those guys from the Western Division title. But any of these teams are going to be a tough out for the Braves. But my money is on the Bravos. A big, big, big hitting attack. One of the most, probably one of the best lineups in Major League history over the last 5 or 10 years. They have, if you look at that lineup and look at how potent this lineup is, I think they have now, they're the first team to have, I believe, if I got my stats right, 4 players to have 35 or more home runs. And I believe they tied the record from the Twins from a few years ago. Most players with 20 or more home runs, I think the Braves have 8, tying the record. So this Braves team can hit the ball with anybody. I mean, anybody historically. But the big key is, are they going to be able to find enough pitching to be able to, like I said again, win this World Series? Because I'll say it for the last time. If you win all these games and don't win the World Series, your season was kind of a bust. Just saying. Even though it's been a lot of fun. I mean, it really has. It has been an absolute pleasure to watch these Atlanta Braves. And I will tell you guys, if you haven't done so already, go to the Battery. I don't know if they're going to have tickets available, but you got to go up there and at least experience, okay, at least experience a Braves game at the Battery. Because here's what they do, which is really, really cool. What the Braves do is they actually open the streets up. This is what they did during the playoffs last year. They actually opened up the streets, and I shouldn't say open, they actually closed the streets off. And during the World Series, they actually allowed people to set up their lawn chairs, and they had jumbotron screens like every other block. You got to envision this. They had over 60,000 people at the Battery, in addition to the 45,000 plus that were inside the stadium. And the cool thing about, once you get to the Battery, you're in a situation where you actually kind of, you can hear the everything that's going on in the game. You can also you see the fireworks and so forth. And I just got a big shout out from or up there, I should say, from my man Easy E. He is the producer and host of Hawks Beat. And you guys are familiar with our program. You'll see him back again during Hawk season. I didn't realize he's a Tampa Bay Rays fan. He said, "Oh, hold it. Watch out for the Rays." And I forgot about the fact that the Rays, if you remember, started off with 13 straight wins to start the season. So, yeah, the Rays are also a contender. Let's take a look at their record overall here. They are also in the hunt still, 3 games behind the Orioles to win the AL East. But even if not, they certainly have secured a wild card spot. And yeah, the Rays they're a good team as well, especially at home. 53-28 at home, one of the best records in the major league, and it's the best record at home in the American League. So yeah, Eddie, I'll give your boys a shout out. Rays are nothing nice as well. He says 97 wins, baby. That's right. Yeah, they themselves are 3 games away from 100 wins, and they're just 3 games behind the Orioles in East. I mean, I think there's 4 games left. Stranger things have happened. So again, appreciate my man E for giving us a shout out here on the broadcast. And again, guys, you can be a part of the broadcast yourself. I'm going to do something I do every now and then. If you want to join us, I'm going to put it up here on social media right now. You actually can be a part of the broadcast. Let me pop it in for you here for those of you who are watching. I'm going to put it up right here. If you want to be a part of the broadcast, it operates just like Zoom. And the way it is you go ahead and put it in your phone or your laptop. Of course, if you're doing your laptop, you got to have a microphone and a good camera. And you can come on and we'll bring you on. Now, keep in mind this, please, if you're going to come on the show, a couple of housekeeping things. Number one, we don't want no bad language, no cussing, no provocative talk. You can't say anything crazy because we are on the radio and we are bound by the FCC rules. And if you do that, I'm going to put you off the air, but I'm going to put it up right here on the screen for those of you who said I can do it, or you're just feeling kind of froggy. You say I'm bad, man. I want to get my spot, my 15 seconds of fame. There you go. That's the link to be on the show right there. Click the link, and you will be a part of the Real Talk Sports show broadcast. Again, thanks to all those of you who have joined in with us this morning. Or also want to give a big shout out to those of you who are watching on the replay, because I know while a lot of you guys watch it via the archive. We're going to take a little bit of a break, friends and citizens, but we'll be back with more of the Real Talk Sports Show in just a moment. You know what I always tell you, don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. Did you know that Allen Vigil Ford in Morrow, Georgia also has Lincoln? Over 35 years of using the Vigil Touch to provide excellent customer service, works hand in hand with the Lincoln Motor Company to provide a luxurious and seamless way to acquire your next luxury vehicle. Lincoln has an array of full-service complimentary owner benefits. These benefits include hospitality partnerships, service pickup and delivery, all which can be accessed through the Lincoln Way app. You can even contact the 24/7 concierge to have someone assist you. Come and see our great inventory of new and pre-owned Lincolns today. Call 678-364-7345 to make an appointment with one of our brand champions, or shop 24/7 online at allenvigillincoln.net. Hey, sports fans, tune in for live high school football Friday, 7:30 p.m. on RealTalkSports.net. Check out your favorite Metro Atlanta teams as they do battle on the gridiron. It's your high school game of the week, live streaming free Friday nights on RealTalkSports.net. For more sports coverage and great sports talk, catch the Real Talk Sports Show Tuesdays, 8 p.m. on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch. Brought to you by Allen Vigil Ford in Morrow, a business giving back to their community. Give them a call at 678-364-3979 or check them out online at AllenVigilFord.net. Hey guys, check us out there. Keep in mind, I'm actually a rep over there, an account rep. So I would love to assist you or any member of your family in getting a new vehicle. You know how to do it. You can hit me up via email. You also can find me anywhere on, Lord have mercy, I'm doing too many things at one time. Bottom line is, hit me up via the cell, 678-410-9833 if you need some help with your new vehicle, or send me an email, jsimmons@realtalksports.net. We would love to have you join us. Well, what I'm going to talk about next is, you can see right behind me there on the screen. I don't know if you can see that. I'll kind of move my camera over there a little bit. For those of you who don't know, that's what we do every Friday night. There's some Thursdays as well. We cover high school football, and last night was no different. We are the official, I should say, official live streaming source for high school football for games played at the Hines Ward Field at the legendary Tara Stadium in Jonesboro, Georgia. Jonesboro, I don't get that, Georgia. We are out there every Friday night. We do some Thursday games when the schedule uh, calls for that. But yeah, we're out there, and we thank our sponsors, current, future, and we also want to thank all those of you parents and coaches who have supported our broadcast. So we've done, I think we're on our 5th year of doing the broadcast. But of course, our biggest shout out goes to our title sponsor, Allen Vigil Ford in Lincoln. Mr. Vigil has been a long time sports aficionado. When you come to the dealership, you actually will be able to see that. His office is adorned and aligned with, you know, just an incredible array of sports memorabilia. I think that guy's got photos with every major sports star you can think of. Yeah, just some great stuff there. And like I said, again, thankful to him, for being, our title sponsor. But last night, we got a chance to watch a game that, when I first saw the game on the schedule, I said, "Oh man, I'm not trying to. I know you coaches, I love you, but I gotta be honest with you. When I saw Rockdale playing Forest Park, I said, "Oh man, uh, Rockdale was 1-4 going into the game, and I think that, or 1-3, and I think that Forest Park was 0-4. And I know every game that we saw them on, they did not, yeah, they didn't even score a point. We saw them get shut out. I believe it was 3 times. So it was really, I was like, man, oh man, the Shevitz. But anyway, make a long story short, the one thing is that when you have teams that are relatively um, close together in terms of skill sets, you actually might get a darn close game, and that's what we actually got. We got a tremendous game. It was a must-see TV, and it came down to something that we had never done before. It was for the first time in our history that we actually live streamed the game that went into not one but two overtimes. That's right, a double overtime thriller. Uh, Forest Park was at home, scored their first touchdown at home, and I believe kicked their first field goal at home as well. And that field goal came in the first overtime. And for a moment, it looked like that the Forest Park Panthers were going to get their first win of the season. And, it was homecoming. And I said to myself, man, what a way for them to be able to um, get this done. And it was incredible. It came right down to it. But unfortunately for them, they, in fact, were not able to win the game. The final score was 17-10 as Rockdale scored a touchdown in the second overtime after kicking a tying field goal and then intercepted Forest Park on the third down to seal the victory. So, yeah, unfortunately, but it was a good one. I really tell you guys, it really was a good one. It was a great game and it was very exciting and it went right down to the wire. But unfortunately, like I said, Forest Park took the loss. But I got to give shout out to this team. And the reason why I'm saying that because these guys really have done a phenomenal job in terms of getting a football team ready to play each and every week, even though they really are outmanned. I mean, this team, I mean, I think they dress 30 players, and that's about it. It's really amazing how these guys do what they do each and every week, and I really have to give them kudos, for doing so because it's hard, man. When your team really doesn't have the firepower or the folks that you need to really put a good quality product on the field, and you're playing against teams that have 50 and 60 players suiting up, and you're only shooting up 30. Yeah, man, I'll give these guys a big shout out for what they do. And we're going to try to get you up here before we go into our college football segment. Ask the big question: Is Coach Prime good for college football? I'm going to try to get my interview up here last night from the game. We'll try to do that if we can. Here's what I'm going to do. While we're waiting for that, I'm going to bring in a guy that was at another game, which was a game a lot of people thought we were going to be at because it was a marquee matchup. It was Mondays Mill versus Jonesboro. And what we did is we flip our resources. Normally, you guys know I have my cameraman Jason on the sidelines at our games, but we sent him over there to 12 Oak Stadium. We're going to bring him into the broadcast right now. Jason, welcome to the Real Talk Sports Show, sir.
Hey, Jonathan, do you hear me? It's great to be on today. What a game last night at 12 Oak Stadium.
Very exciting. Two of the best teams in the county, Jonesboro going in at 4-1. And Mondays Mill was undefeated. And just tell us how the game kind of broke out because I believe Mondays Mill was the winner.
Yeah, you could feel the energy the moment both teams arrived. I arrived at 5:45, and Jonesboro was already out running drills almost an hour and a half before the game. So that was amazing just to see them out there, the energy that both teams had. And then the game kicked off, and Mondays Mill went up early. They had just great control of the ball. They're able to run the football effectively. They're able to pass the football effectively. But defensively, they really got down on Jonesboro. Jonesboro had some trouble starting their running game, their passing game, and they're able to build that lead. And that kind of got to about halftime or so. I think the biggest thing the thing that hurt Jonesboro the most was turnovers. There was about 4 or 5 turnovers during the game. There was a couple pick sixes that happened in the second half and allowed Mondays Mill to be able to go ahead and build that lead to a point where they're ahead by quite a bit. But then, believe it or not, in the fourth quarter, Jonesboro was able to stage a little bit of a comeback. They're able to score 2 touchdowns towards the end of the fourth quarter and get 2 2-point conversions. And the final score was 36-28. So it was a lot closer than what it appeared like it was going to be. So Jonesboro, they didn't stop fighting. They kept playing all the way down to that final minute or so, playing hard in that game. Towards the end of the game, I think Mondays Mill didn't like the fact that Jonesboro was making a comeback because I saw something very unusual at the end of the game. They actually opted for waiving, and there's no post-game handshakes. So the teams decided
Really?
to waive, and there's no post-game handshakes. Mondays Mill stood there on their sidelines, waved at Jonesboro. Jonesboro ran to their locker room.
Well, that I'm shocked about because, as you know, I've went to
Mm-hmm.
the media days and all the coaches. When I asked them afterwards, they said, "Hey, look, although that we kind of we get after one another on the field, off the field, at the end of the day, we're all pulling for Clayton County schools to do well." So shocking that we had that type of situation. But you know what? I shouldn't say that because at the end of the day, let's face it, man. I mean, it's a hard nosed, tough game. And when you have a situation where you have two of the best teams in the county going at it, I can see why sometimes tempers might kind
Mm-hmm.
of get a little scratchy there. So anyway, man, but it was great. In our game, same thing. It was the opposite direction. A battle of two teams that have not been able to win too much. Between the two of them in 10 games, we only had one win. Mondays Mill eked out a victory a few weeks ago, but uh, they did it again in a double overtime thriller. They win 17-10 against Forest Park. Jason, you remember we've seen them. I don't think
Yeah.
Forest Park scored in any of the games that we covered.
No, I don't think so either. So I was watching it last night on my phone on the sidelines, watching your coverage and watching the overtime part of it. It did look like you had a very exciting game. And
Yeah, it was
last
really
night was
crazy, and I really didn't quite understand kind of what had happened towards the end. I had thought that Forest Park was supposed to get a possession right after the score of Rockdale, but something happened on the field. When next thing Rockdale had the ball again, I was like, all right, I'm not sure what happened there. And I was never really explained to me, so I'm gonna try to get some clarification later on. But the bottom line is that Rockdale did what they had to do. The key to that game, ironically, was the same thing. They had a pick six early, which takes them to a 7-0 lead, which they held the entire game until about 6 minutes left, where Forest Park really got their only good drive of the game and was able to punch in the game time score and send it into overtime. And then also a huge, huge goal line stand at the end of the game to send it into overtime by Forest Park. So yeah, man, I feel bad for those guys. Like I say again, they really do have a they're undermanned. I think they only dress 30 guys.
mm-hmm.
So it's really, really shocked. Speaking of Monday's Mill, let me take you to Monday's Mill from the week before, let you look at the interview that we had with them. And I'm sure these players were very key in the Monday's Mill win that you saw. All right, guys, we're post game, another big win here for the Tigers of Monday's Mill. Coach, 5-0 start. What does it mean to you to start off 2023 this way?
Pretty good. Like I said, we understand the task we have at hand. It feels good to be 5-0, but like I tell them, at the end of the day, we just really want to go 1-0. That's our big objective, to go 1-0. Make sure that we always take care of home field, and make sure that if we can, have a home playoff game.
All right, who you got next to you, Coach, over here, number 17?
My quarterback, Donovan Morton,
Donovan
Sr.
Morton. Yes, sir.
Introduce yourself again one time.
Donovan Morton, senior quarterback.
What was the key for you today, getting this big win, 43-0 here over Forest Park?
It feels good. We came out kind of shaky, but we had to get it together, and we got it together. And we came out, and everybody executed the way they need to do.
How can people find out more about you, follow you on social media?
You can follow me on Instagram at 17dots and on Twitter at 3d.morton.
All right, let's go over here. Young man, why don't you pull his jersey down so everybody can see that number? Got to be official. All right, there is number 8. Introduce yourself to everybody, please.
Joshua 04, linebacker, class 2024.
What does it mean for you guys to get a shutout here, 43-0 for win number 5 on the season?
It mean a lot because it's really our first one, and we started a bit shaky at first, but when it got to the second half and all that, all defense locked in, and even on special teams too.
Was it a bit of a challenge because Forest Park kind of runs that strange offense where they got a diamond in the middle and 5 guys on the outside? How were you able to kind of stop them from getting any yards against you today?
Our DC, he wrote up a good game plan against it, so it's we weren't really worried about it when we came out.
How can people follow you on social media?
Showtime 04 on Instagram and Twitter.
There was, like I said again, I'm surprised that they were not as friendly after the game. But like I said again, when you have a hard-fought ball game, sometimes those things happen. Well, Jason, who do we have on the schedule next? I don't have it in front of me, but I think we have some more good games coming up, or we have a bye next week.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's going to be a bye week come up for a few weeks or so, but there's definitely going to be some good games coming down the stretch. And one thing Money's Mill said, they said after our game we covered against Forest Park and again last night, is they said they're in playoff mode. Every game matters. Every game's all about winning. I think Money's Mill got a pretty big game against Carver Atlanta coming up, so they're going to try to keep that momentum rolling. It was a great game to be at last night. Once again, thank our sponsor Allen Vigil Ford for another great night in Clayton County, and the ability for us to be able to have two different games on and be able to give viewers, two of the great games and what was an amazing game last night of two high-powered teams playing hard until the last minute. As I said, Jonesboro didn't give up on that game, scoring 2 touchdowns in the game. And I mean, we got to a point where fourth quarter, they're actually doing an onside kick to try to get the ball to tie the game up at the end of the game. So that's how close Jonesboro is able to bring it back in. So it'll be interesting to see what the reaction is from the coaches of both teams as they come off of that game.
Yeah, so we'll talk to both coaches about it next week. Hopefully, we'll be able to get them actually on the Real Talk Sports show as well. We also are going to tell people, please go to our YouTube page. We now are branded all social media Real Talk Sports 7. So that's us. Just go on there, youtube.com/Real Talk Sports 7. And you actually see some of the highlight films that Jason has put together for us. We have a few more we have to upload. So, yeah, keep it locked right there. And also, watch us on Instagram. We'll be putting clips there as well. Jason is on the sidelines. You guys, some of you people have waved to him and shot him out when he's gone by. So please look for him. And also, guys, for those of you who are parents and coaches, remember, we'll be on the sidelines after the game. So make yourself available so we can do more interviews like you saw right there. Well, Jason, listen, man, it's always a pleasure to have you on. We're going to take a break here. Speaking of Allen Vigil Ford, we want to give them a shout out as well as some of our other sponsors. So keep it locked right here for more. The Real Talk Sports Show. We'll be right back. Are you in the market for a new vehicle? Well, check out Allen Vigil Ford Lincoln in Morrow, Georgia. We have one of the largest inventories in our area for both new and pre-owned vehicles, so we're sure to have something for everyone. Family owned and operated since 1982, customer satisfaction is our #1 priority. Come see our full lineup of vehicles and find the one that best fits you. Give us a call today, 678-726-5739, or shop us 24/7 online at allenvigilford.net.
This is OJ Howard with Real Talk Sports.
What's up, guys? This is Tim Tebow. You're listening to Real Talk Sports.
This is Charles Woodson. Let me grab the mic. You ready? This is Charles Woodson with Real Talk Sports. Hey, it's your boy JB Smooth with Real Talk Sports.
We're back here at the Real Talk Sports Show. I'm your host and minister, Jonathan Simmons, and we have a rare appearance here for our on the sidelines cameraman. Jason is in the building. Like I said, guys, we're looking to try to bring you some. Well, not looking. We are going to bring you some great stuff. Jason, I think that what I'm going to do is next week I'm going to peek in on something I very rarely get a chance to do. I'm peeking on some junior varsity football. The middle school guys are also moving really close to their postseason play. So one of my coworkers, her son actually plays for Stockbridge. So I told him I'd try to go down there and maybe get a few photos and hopefully a little video. You may or may not know, but we posted about a 10-second clip of some action from Drew Middle School versus North Clayton. And it got a staggering 9,000 views.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
So evidently people are very interested in middle school football. So we're going to be out there giving you guys some more coverage. And also, apparently, there are going to be some playoff games at Tara Stadium during the middle of the week. So we're going to try to also get down there and give you guys some coverage as well. Let's go to one of our big fans from, and I should say friends of our show, from up in Cummings. I'll pass you, Jason. Our man Sullivan's got a burger joint up there in Cummings. And as he always says, Shucky Ducky is in the building.
There we go.
We're Real Talk Sport. Hey, man, we appreciate you and appreciate what you're doing. All right, guys, the big question of the day is college football, big game on today. Well, actually, there's several big games on today, but one of the ones they're going to get, once again, national spotlight is the Colorado Buffaloes against the Trojans of USC. Now, on paper, this game appears to be a lopsided game. And a lot of people are questioning why there's so much attention on the game, but you know why. The Prime effect. Coach Prime has taken the college football world by storm. So my question is Coach Prime good for college football? That's my question, guys. Is Coach Prime good for college football? Let me know what you think. Put your comments in social media. Uh, I say, from what I've seen so far, he's darn good for college football. He has brought a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, and to the University of Colorado, to Fox Sports college football, and I dare say to ESPN, anytime that he is on, it is must-see TV, and he is driving huge dollars,
Mm-hmm.
huge dollars to college football. So on that respect, I think he's definitely a good for the sport. The other thing too is, I mean, a lot of the comments that he has made have really been, I think, very inspirational and always been about trying to encourage and to build these young men. Jason, what's kind of your take, or what are your thoughts, if you have any, about Coach Prime? You think he's good for college football?
Oh yeah, Coach Prime brings an excitement to the game. He brings an energy to the game, just a passion with the players he's coaching, and he's kind of that coach that I think every player wishes they could have. And you think about what he's done for recruitment at the University of Colorado, bringing in the players that he has, the dynamic playmakers. For only his first season, he has really achieved a lot. Going to from where he was to the big level program that he's at, and I think he's only going to keep building that program greater and greater and greater. The only thing I have to wonder is if he'd ever want to try the NFL waters again, going back to coaching in the NFL. And he said, right now he likes Colorado, but who knows down the road if he wants to be an NFL coach and where he'd want to go. You look at where he played NFL football, maybe he'd want to go to one of those teams. And I'm talking about, a team very close near to us, or possibly
Near the Atlanta Falcons?
Hey, you know what? What do you think? Coach Prime could bring a big stage presence for us. So, I mean, but he's a great coach at Colorado. He's doing amazing things. It's too bad Travis Hunter got injured like he did, because that Colorado team was really flying around him or so. But I'm interested in seeing what they can do today in this game early on. Can they make it close? Because, hey, they surprised us against TCU. So they could do that again.
Well, speaking of Travis Hunter, go to his Instagram page. What he did is that there's been a lot of, and Coach Prime talked about this, since that particular play, there has been a lot of vitriol and even threats against the player that knocked him out of the game. And Coach Prime came on and said, listen, you know what? It was a hard hit. Nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. He said, but we are playing football, and it is a game that oftentimes has injuries. And what Travis Hunter did was he actually met up with the Colorado State player, and they did about a 2 or 3 minute video, both talking about the fact that, hey, look, we're over it, so the rest of the population of America should be over it, and that there was no hard feelings. And I thought that was very, very important for Travis to come out and do that, because, like I said again, you just have a situation where, people giving the guy death threats, which is crazy. Well, speaking of Coach Prime, let's take a look here. Sully says, hey, Coach Prime is one of his heroes.
Yes, for sure. He's a great coach, amazing coach. We got some good college football games on today for sure. Now I tell everybody right now, I'm a diehard Ohio State fan. So my big game was last weekend when Ohio State beat Notre Dame late in the game, and I'm interested in seeing how Notre Dame's going to do against Duke. That's going to be a really good game tonight, Duke versus Notre Dame. So interested in watching that one tonight and just seeing how that one plays out. But definitely the Coach Prime USC game is going to be on by TV at noon for sure.
Yeah, so here's the thing. You talked about Ohio State, obviously a huge win against Notre Dame. Both teams were in the top 10 at the time. Notre Dame drops now to 4-1 after losing that game at home. And it was really a flashback to old school, old time college football. I mean, both teams just hard hitting, close game, low scoring. And like you said, again, it kind of harkens back to the kind of football I used to grow up with when I was a kid back in the 70s and 80s, where, these great teams didn't have these big shootouts, high scoring events. They were just like that, 20-14 or, 21-17. And so, again, we saw that with Notre Dame and Ohio State. Speaking of college football, let's go through the rankings here of the top 10 as we do each and every week on the Saturday Update. Of course, right here in our backyard, those Georgia Bulldogs, number 1 overall, the 2-time defending college football champions, 4-0. Right behind them, the Wolverines of Michigan. They themselves have been in the college football playoffs 2 years now. And of course, the guys who knocked off that guy in that red sweater down in Alabama, the Texas Longhorns. once again back in the top 5 in the country as a Nick Saban, I want to say rebuild. Coach Steve Sarkisian, the guy we saw here in Atlanta after the Super Bowl season, he's got the Longhorns playing like the old days, 4-0. The Ohio State Buckeyes, as we mentioned, 4-0.
Yeah.
Another team making their way back, I guess, to where they belong. The Florida State Seminoles back in the top 5. They too are 4-0. Penn State Nittany Lions 4-0. The Washington Huskies, a team that's been lighting up offensively, one of the best offensive teams in the nation at number 7. USC, who we know will be taking on Colorado, is number 8. Another high-powered offense with defending Heisman Trophy Award winner Caleb Williams. The Oregon Ducks, who laid it on the Colorado Buffaloes last week at home. They're 4-0, number 9. And the Utah Utes, even after their loss, are still in the top 10 at 4-1. And right behind them, Notre Dame at 11, and Alabama, for the first time in eons, not in the top 10, ranked at number 12. So,
That's
yeah, a lot of good
right.
football. Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, that Texas game was a huge game in terms of how they were viewed around the country. Just so like I say, college football. We're speaking of prime time. We're in prime time. This is the season. Lots of great college football going on in our backyard. I believe Georgia Tech plays today as well. Tech is trying to get back into the conversation of being relevant. You know, Jason, you've been around the Atlanta area for a while. You've covered high school football. What do you think a team like Georgia Tech needs to do to get back in the middle of it?
Yeah, you know, Georgia Tech is one of those programs that was on the rise for a long time, and they were kind of always thought of after as being one of the, you know, tougher programs or so. They played in bowl games and stuff, and just recently, it just seems like they've kind of been in a decline. And you know, you look at what a Coach Prime has done. They need a coach who's going to get, you know, those dynamic playmakers and bring that recruiting back, because there's a lot of good talent in the Atlanta area that tends to go to other schools. So I think they can get the right coach to bring that right energy back into their building, then they can go back to being a good team. And we can see how fast a team can build back. I mean, look at Florida State. You know, they were only winning 3 games a few years before, and now they're number 4 in the country or so, and they're playing amazing football. So it's possible with the right recruitment and the right coach. So I'm hoping they can make those moves, because it would be good to see them back in there again. Bring back that Georgia Tech rivalry, which has felt a little one-sided the last few years with the way Georgia is playing. Also, Georgia, shout out to them. They're playing Auburn. I've heard that's the friendliest rivalry. It's over 100 years old. I know a lot of people where they say they have a Georgia fan and an Auburn fan in the family, and they're going to watch the game, and they said they're planning on keeping it really friendly. I guess that it's a good old rivalry game, so that would be a good one as well, as Georgia goes on the road to Auburn and play in that really old rivalry. I guess it's over 100 years old. So, you know, great.
It is one of the oldest rivalries in college football.
Yeah, with football this weekend. So, yeah, hopefully Tech can turn it around and we can get back to having, you know, two really good teams in Georgia.
We'll tell you, I don't know how friendly the rivalry is between Auburn and Georgia, but at the end of the day, it is one of the oldest rivalries around for sure.
Right.
And they've had some epic games. If you remember, just a couple of years ago, that unbelievable 4th down play where it was tipped in the air, game was basically over, and a tip and a touchdown, and Auburn shocked and upset Georgia, and actually cost them another trip to college football playoffs in that year. So, yeah, man, it should be good. Going back to Yellow Jackets, they've at least evened their record after a critical win last night, an ACC, not last night, but last week, an ACC win against Wake Forest, 30-16.
Okay.
And really, if you look at Tech, what really I think got their season going sideways was really the opening game. Played right here. They were in the Chick-fil-A kickoff game. They had a 2-touchdown lead against Louisville late in the game. And then Louisville in the second half, especially late in the 3rd quarter and 4th quarter, just blew them out of the building, ended up winning 39-34. And that kind of set a bad tone. Of course, they went down to Mississippi and got shellacked 48-23. But I think if they had won that game, well, now all of a sudden you're talking 3-1. You're talking a big win at, you know, Mercedes-Benz Stadium with the whole eyes of the world watching you. And like you said about recruiting, now you got people interested in coming.
Right. And that's a tough word to start out with, Louisville and then Ole Miss. I mean, we see Ole Miss being kind of a tough team. They gave Alabama a very difficult game. They got LSU tonight, which is going to be another great matchup. So that was tough for Tech. So they can turn it around. They can still have a decent season. if they're at the 500 mark, that's 3 games away from a bowl game appearance. So maybe they can get back to a bowl game this year, and that's the first step towards building back.
Make sure they got a shot. They host Bowling Green today at home. Bowling Green's not a good team. This should be a win. They will have to hitch up the britches next week as they travel down to the U to take on Miami, another team who is resurging, ranked number 18 in the country. So they're going to need to go ahead and get this Bowling Green win under their belt because it's going to be tough to go down to Miami and knock off the Hurricanes.
For sure. Yes, that's going to be a tough one for them. Miami does look really good this season. They've had some good wins. A&M really impressed me. I'm waiting to see Miami when they play Florida State to see how they are as a program. I think that would be another really great game and a tough game for Florida State.
You know, those games for a while, at least for a long time, those were must-see TV games, the U against the Seminoles, and it looks like we may be finding our way back to that one more time. Well, we're going to take one more break here. You're watching and listening to the Real Talk Sports Show, and we will be back in just a moment.
All right.
Hey, sports fans, tune in for live high school football Friday, 7:30 p.m. on RealTalkSports.net. Check out your favorite Metro Atlanta teams as they do battle on the gridiron. It's your high school game of the week, live streaming free Friday nights on RealTalkSports.net. For more sports coverage and great sports talk, catch the Real Talk Sports Show Tuesdays, 8 p.m. on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch. Brought to you by Allen Vigil Ford in Morrow, a business giving back to their community. Give them a call at 678-364-3979 or check them out online at AllenVigilFord.net.
Coming up next, it's the Real Talk Sports Show, bringing you great sports talk with perspective. Now, here's our host, Jonathan Simmons.
All right, guys, we're back here at the Real Talk Sports Show. Again, I'm your host, the Minister Jonathan Simmons. I have our cameraman, Jason, in the building, always bringing you great stuff from high school football. Well, the other thing, Jason, is a big fan of the Atlanta Falcons.
Rise up. That's right.
So, Jason, as you know, the Falcons, even as we speak right now, are in jolly old London, getting ready to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And, okay, I think that if you, at the beginning of the season, said the Falcons were going to be 2-1 going to this game, most Falcon fans would have been okay, except for the way they lost Game 3. What's your take on them and the way they lost to Detroit last week, 20-6?
Yeah, and we have to remember, Detroit is one of the good teams in the NFL. I was impressed with the way Detroit opened up against Kansas City, and then even Green Bay on Thursday night just showed how good Detroit is. I think the thing that was the hardest for the Falcons was how Detroit played us. They stopped our running game, and they forced Desmond Ridder to make passes down the field. So my concern is that hopefully the Falcons will be able to get a little bit more on that passing game when it comes to making accurate passes. Jacksonville's the kind of team that's got a defense very similar to Detroit in the way that they can stop the run. So the Falcons had a learning experience last week, and hopefully they've kind of learned what they can keep doing. As I've seen throughout the week, kind of looking at some of the social media sites I'm on or so, I think we abandoned our running game way too early. So I'm hoping we keep running the football. We got some great runners. I heard there's a chance that Cordell Patterson may be able to play. He's questionable, but he's moving up that, injury list. So maybe he'll play a little bit, give us a little bit more for the run. But if we can get our run started a little bit more effective, there's a chance that we can win. Trevor Lawrence has definitely seemed like he was struggling last week in that loss against the Texans. So this might be a good time to play Jacksonville. This team tends to get hot towards the end of the season. So this might be a good time for Atlanta to be able to get in and get a win. So I'm going with it being a pretty exciting game. I think if it's a high scoring game, it could go either way. Jacksonville definitely has, a good defense, but we also have a good defense too. So it's going to be an exciting game. I was thinking about being a 9:30 kickoff. I was like, well, what do I eat during that game? Because, for food and that kind of thing. Hey, it's almost like a breakfast game. So, well, I'd like to know, Real Talk Sports audience, where are you guys playing? Are you doing any kind of tailgating thing in the morning? It's definitely going to be a 9:30 kickoff early game, but it's going to be a good one. So it's one worth getting up for, getting excited about, and I can't wait to see what the Falcons are able to do.
No doubt, most of our sports bars are going to have a different type of menu. I think it's going to have to be
Right.
more of a brunch menu than a lunch menu. But yeah, so yeah, we'd love to know, guys, kind of where you guys are going to be. You never know, the Real Talk Sports Show might pop up and do a quick live preview where you are. So let us know where you're going to be hanging out for the big game on tomorrow. And yeah, it's listen. I mean, here's the thing. You hit it on the head. To me, the biggest thing with the Falcons is I don't want to take a shot at Coach Smith, but I have been very unimpressed with his play calling, especially in that Lions game.
Yeah.
You know, you have a situation, we have a quarterback that is, and I'm not gonna, I don't want to necessarily insult the young man, but you know, he's an average quarterback right now in terms of throwing the ball. That's
Yes.
just as real as it can be. I mean, he just has been, uh, average, and really he's shown an inability to get the ball downfield accurately.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big problem. So to me, thinking about those things and thinking about how much time it takes to get those mid-range to long shots, why, as a coach, would you open up games like they did against the Lions? I think 8 of the first 10 plays were running plays. And
Yeah.
then we noticed even last week, I mean, the week before, they opened up with like 3 or 4 passing plays. To me,
Mm-hmm.
you have a team that last year, I believe, was ranked number 3 overall in rushing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, hey, and then you draft a guy in Bijan Robinson, who everybody says is a, um, you know, once in a lifetime type player as far as skill set. And if you look at him, his play actually really reminds you a lot of Cordarrelle Patterson. He can run the ball. He's a
Yeah.
pass receiver. So I'm thinking, all right, well, if you're that good at running the ball, I would think that I would try to run the ball first and make them show that they can stop me versus, okay, I'm gonna try to, trick around or quote unquote hit Detroit where they're weak in the pass defense. I'm not doing any of that. Man, I'm running the ball. Run the
Yes.
ball and run the ball some more. Just saying.
Yeah. Absolutely. They need to get that running game going again. I also noticed last week too that I think Ritter held on to the football too long before he passed it, and that's how Detroit was able to get some of those sacks. I know the offensive line took some criticism for their play, but I think if that ball was out just a little split second earlier, so I even saw a stat that said Ritter held on the ball for the longest of almost any quarterback, averaging 2.4 seconds. So hopefully they worked on at practice this week, and we'll see an improved game flow right here. I'm hoping they can get Drake London a little bit more open, because that's one of their big playmakers. He can make a lot of exciting plays. So if Drake London can get the ball, you never know what can happen. Spread that defense out a little bit more, and it'll enable that run, especially when you get down into that red zone area. So that's going to be a big key for the Falcons, being able to run the football effectively, getting in the red zone, playing the red zone well. And I think the turnover game is going to be really important. I think whoever turns the ball over the least is probably going to come up the winner tomorrow. So if the Falcons are able to force some turnovers on their end, I'd love to see Jesse Bates be able to intercept a few. That would be big too. So I think whoever turns the ball over the least is going to come up the winner tomorrow.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said again, the Falcons just have to play what they seem to be Falcons football, which is Coach Smith said he wants to be hard nosed, he wants to be smash mouthed. I'm like, all right, well, let's just stay with that.
Right.
Let's shorten the game. Let's dominate the time of possession. That's a good indication to me. If the Falcons have a better time of possession, I think that in most of those games they're going to win, because that means they're running the ball.
Agreed.
And,
yes.
And the other thing I'm kind of baffled about, they ran it a couple of times last week and it seemed to be fairly successful. Why on earth do they not, since they loaded up on tight ends, I'm like, go with that, for lack of a better word, that jumbo set where you're running consistently 2 or 3 tight ends all the time. To me, I never want to see Ritter in an empty backfield. Never.
Yes.
Because that's not his thing. Because that's really designed for a passing quarterback. I mean, who throws the ball very well. And up to this point, that's not kind of his thing. I'm like, hey, man, I'm giving you the one back. You can take your pick. We don't talk about this guy much, but he was a 1,000-yard back last year. And in the first game this year, he had 75 yards. I'm talking about Tyler Algier. So
Yes.
I'm like, you can put Algier back there, you can put Robinson back there, you can put both of them back there if you like. But to me, I want to see more 2 tight end sets. You brought in this guy, Jonnu Smith, who's a pretty good pass catcher. You already have Kyle Pitts, who you expended a number 4 overall pick for. Okay.
And you
So
got
I'm like,
Matt
hey, man.
Holland, a great playmaker as well. Holland's doing some good stuff
Right.
when he gets the football.
So I'm like, okay, keep these you brought all these big guys in, then let's go with that jumbo lineup. Let's go with 2 tight ends. Let's go with Mac Hollins and Drake London, both tall, big, rangy guys. And then go for these, like you mentioned, the quick slants, the quick outs, and put Ritter himself said it, put it in their catch radius. Put it up high if you have to. Now, in the slant play, they want to do that because you want to get you guys hurt. But certainly on the out patterns, you want to get that ball up and towards the sideline so it can't be intercepted and so that your guy can make a play. This is not brain surgery. I mean, no disrespect to Arthur Smith. I mean, he knows a whole lot more about football than me, but he's not shown it lately in his play calling. His play calling has been pretty darn poor, and I think he would admit the same.
Right. You have to adapt your play calling for the team that you have and the weapons you have. So I'm just going with that game last week in Detroit as being a learning game for the Falcons, and I'm hoping that they learn from that game. I know Arthur Smith said that they're going to work on things and they're going to play better tomorrow. So hopefully that's a learning experience. As I said, Jacksonville is a very similar team to Detroit, so I think we're going to see some similar kind of plays on defense as we saw with Detroit. So hopefully this will be a chance for Atlanta to kind of be able to redeem themselves and play well. But even if they do lose, think about this. You still have a whole long stretch of the season. You're still only right up there in the division, so you're still right up there with the division, and that's going to be a key to win the division. So even if it's a learning game, you got a lot of great games to play and a lot more games that you can win. So definitely hope should still be high for Falcons fans. It's a long season, and there's a lot of things that can happen still.
Well, it's interesting. We're talking about the Falcons, and if I go to NFL.com, there's an interesting article by a former NFL quarterback, David Carr. He says the title of this is called the 2023 NFL Offensive Player Rankings Week 4. And right underneath the headline, he says Desmond Ritter is among the QBs I'm putting on notice. And he's got a total of 3 quarterbacks that he's got on notice. He said these are the 3, and he's not in good company. Number 1, out in New York, the New York Jets, Zach Wilson, who has been terrible. Chicago's Justin Fields, a guy who at one point in the draft, people were thinking that the Falcons should have drafted him and not Kyle Pitts. He has imploded in Chicago. And he said, last but not least, he said, Desmond Ritter. And he said the questions about Ritter's capacity to be the guy could be growing, even though, like you said, Atlanta's off the 2-1 start heading into London game. He said, but the quarterback has not really, been consistent. That's really the big thing. He just has, he just doesn't seem that he has a full grasp of the offense. What Carl was talking about, how he took some unnecessary hits on the RPOs and how he can't seem to understand how quickly to get the ball out. So these are the kind of things that he has to learn. And I'll say it again, as I said before, it would have helped if they had more preseason play. I'm just saying.
No, I agree with you on that one. I was very shocked with the limited use of the starting offense in the preseason and not playing them, because I think he would have benefited from taking more snaps during the preseason. I don't think he was at the point where he had the luxury of just being able to, rest like a Matt Ryan, who is a veteran. He should have played more during the preseason. I also thought there should have been more of a quarterback competition between him and Taylor Heinicke. Taylor Heinicke was very effective in Washington as a starter several times. So I kind of thought there should have been a little bit more chances to see what he can do. But at this point, we're kind of in it with Ritter for this season, and we just kind of have to ride with him and then just kind of see what happens next season. There's going to be a lot of great draftable quarterbacks. So the Falcons will have some decisions to make for sure, depending on how things go. But this is definitely going to be the proving year for Desmond Ritter to see if he can turn things around and he can play a little bit better. That accuracy, hopefully that will improve as he plays more snaps. And I agree with you. He should have played more snaps in the preseason. That would give you a little bit more chances to be able to, get out there and to be able to see what the NFL play is all about.
Now, before we go, David Carr floated out something which I myself thought about. I probably unlikely that would happen, but I think if it could happen, it would be a boon to the Falcons, and you would pack Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But I don't think that either team will be willing to do it. But, and even though he's not been playing well for the team he's on now, David Carr says this, and I agree wholeheartedly. He says, sure, Fields has struggled with the Bears this fall. I'm not saying Ridder can't play well in Atlanta or Chicago would trade Fields, but I believe Fields is perfectly suited to unlock the explosive elements of the Falcons offense that's missing right now. After seeing the tumult in Chicago earlier this season, I'm seriously considering picking up the phone if I'm the Falcons general manager, Terry Fontenot. And I got to tell you, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Justin Fields, with Arthur Smith and this talent pool, it would be like watching, I believe, Ohio State all over again. I think that they would light him up. I just think that he has the arm talent to be able to get the ball downfield. Obviously, he's one of the best running quarterbacks in the NFL right now. And I think with him on the RPO, the Atlanta running attack will be unstoppable because now you legitimately, like you had to do a little bit with Mariota last year, you got to really actually account for the quarterback as a runner. So I don't know if it'll happen ever, but man.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like a lot of times these NFL quarterbacks get drafted. They end up on a team that just doesn't utilize their strengths and talents right, and they kind of end up washing out in a season or two. And you feel like if they went to a different team, they were in just a different environment, they might be able to thrive. And it seems like Justin Fields would suit really well with our kind of offense that we run in Atlanta. And if there's a way to bring him here, it'd be interesting to see for sure what would happen. So yeah, I don't know if that would happen, if that's gonna happen or not, but if that's a possibility, it would definitely be interesting to see what he could do behind our offense.
Well, I believe I hear some music beginning to play now. And that means we're at the end of our broadcast. Jason, listen, man, thank you for joining us here on the Real Talk Sports Show this week. And also, as you know, thank you very much for all your hard work on the field in high school football here around Metro Atlanta. All right, guys, until the next time when we get back together again, God bless you and have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, whichever may apply. So long.
That's right. Bye,
Take
everyone.
care. Bye-bye.
Enjoy football.